Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CS Benchmarks Revisited webinar. Uh, this is a joint production with Klaus, Intercom, and Support Driven. How's everyone's day going so far?
Going great. It's freezing outside. So I'm in Estonia, and it's winter has arrived.
Nice.
The same in Poland.
Probably less extreme, I would say, than Estonia and Poland.
What temperatures are you dealing with?
It's -5 Celsius, but no idea what that is for our American viewers.
It's cold.
It is cold.
Yeah.
It's +10 here, Celsius, so I really shouldn't complain about winter.
In Poland, we also have like around -5, and on Saturday we have the first snow. So it's Christmas time and typical winter.
It's I'm in San Diego, so it's right now like 60 degrees and sunny.
Well, thanks for getting up so early for us.
Yeah, happy to. It's it's especially this. It's been a while since I think we've had a chance to do things together since with all the lockdown stuff, and so I'm happy to get together and online. Right. So let's start with introductions of our panelists. If you could, each take a turn and introduce yourselves so that our audience knows, has a name to go with, with your voice. Martin, do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Martin. I'm co-founder and CEO of Klaus, so klausapp.com. And my relevant background comes also from my previous job, where I was the global head of customer support at a CRM company called Pipedrive, and now building a platform for improving conversations in customer support.
Great. Ruth, would you like to go next?
Sure. So hello, I am Ruth, and I lead Intercom's EMEA support team. So that's about 40 people based out of Dublin. And I've been in support for about 12 years now, 6 of which have been with Intercom. And I've been all roles in a support team. So support agent, QA, team lead, manager, and now regional manager. I've worked for Blizzard Entertainment before, Apple, and then before I joined Intercom, I was with a BPO outsourcing. And I've seen the industry change a lot over the last few years, so excited to discuss that today.
Very cool. Right, and Julia?
Hi everyone, I'm Julia, and currently I'm a head of customer support at Woodpecker. Woodpecker app helps you to reach out through different channels while sending cold emails and follow-ups. I've started at Woodpecker as a customer support agent and then became a team leader. And currently I manage a team of 6 support agents, and we are supporting more than 3,000 customers through all over the world.
Great. And so I'm Scott. I'm the founder of Support Driven, which is a community for people that do customer support, and it's a place where people get together to talk to other people in customer support. and and it's so if you have a question about related to work or your career, you'll find other people in there you can talk to about that, right?
Scott is being very modest. Support Driven is what, like nearly 10,000 people now?
Yeah, it's getting pretty close. We should be hitting that probably in January, just because December is a little slow.
Support Driven is also a big part of why Klaus even exists. So we got our first customers from their events, and the Slack group is by far the most useful Slack community that I'm aware of. So whoever is interested in customer support as a career is definitely an amazing place to check out and be a part of.
Yes, thank you, Martin. So it's everyone is welcome there, from people who have been doing customer support a long time to people who are looking to get their first job in customer support. And then, all right, so let's dive into the topic of this webinar, right? So earlier this year, we got together to publish the first ever customer support quality benchmark report. And as we're getting closer to the end of the year, we'd like to come back and revisit some of these numbers and compare them with recent changes, trends, and talk about what's coming up in 2022. Right, and then so a couple of things to note, right? We'll be recording the session. The recording will be emailed to you, and we'll also be answering the sessions. And then we've introduced all of our speakers today. And we'll also be using Slido.com to get your responses and your questions into the panel. So if you join Slido and put in CS Quality as your hashtag, we'll get started with that. And I think if we can switch over to Slido, one of the things we want to just give it a test run, right? And so the question I'd like for you to answer is, not okay. So, before we get to that, right? Let's go ahead and dive in. All right. So the question we'd like for you to answer is, what's been the biggest customer support trend of 2021 for you? Like, what has come up and shaped what you've done this year? And for our panelists, right? We'll get started with the first question, which is, the report that was published more than 6 months ago shows that more and more companies have set customer experience as one of their top goals. So which trends have you noticed? What has kind of changed in the overall support scene for you? So we'll start with Ruth.
Yeah, so like you said there, customer experience is being placed up front and center. So more and more companies are realizing that support teams are not just a cost center, that they can actually be a revenue driver. So they're actually key to retention, expansion, and also due to the pandemic, this was moved a bit faster, but lots of companies were moving online anyway, but even more moved online in the last couple of years, right? So they're embracing online tools, they're embracing automation so that they can scale. And then on the customer side of things, customers have higher and higher expectations of what companies can do for them and how seamless their experience will be. So customer experience and seamless processes, personal support, all the trends that I've been seeing over the last year or two, or even 6 months and beyond.
Great. And Julia, what have you been seeing?
I totally agree with Ruth, and at Woodpecker we've noticed that our customers expected more support channels, not only email or chat or phone. So that's why we've decided to move into integrations with different messengers. And generally speaking, we've noticed after integration between Facebook and Intercom, which we use to support our customers, that we have a bigger amount of messages through Facebook to our support team. So due to this trend, we also would like to open a WhatsApp integration, Viber for West markets, and so on and so forth. Because based on pandemic times and what Ruth say, people want to reach support teams in a very fast way and not typically through chat that you can find in the app. They just want to open their phone or messenger in case of any urgent question to write to support agents. So for our team, it's definitely the trend of this year, and based on this, we will develop internal workflows.
Great. And Martin?
Yeah, so comparing this year with the last one and the one before that, it's like very, very evident that QA is now a thing that people already know about. So in this segment of customers that we operate in, because there were no tools for like systematic quality improvement for the longest time, there wasn't even vocabulary to speak about it, and everybody was also naming things a little bit differently, doing things differently. It's now, I think, in part because of webinars and materials like this. Now there's like more of a universal language, and it's a thing now. Before, people were kind of just talking about it in quite different ways.
Gotcha. And so, we have all these, forces, trends kind of pushing you to change, right? What are some of the things that you're doing to kind of, increase more, be more proactive, increase more channels of support, right? And improve the customer experience and improve the quality? Like, what are some of the steps, or initiatives that you've taken this year in response to those trends? Do any of you want to kind of speak on some of the initiatives you've taken this year?
Sure, I can start.
We all go at the same time.
Right.
So who was the first?
I say Ruth should go. You have the biggest support team.
Is that me? Yes. Okay, I will go for it. So one of the initiatives that we're rolling out this year is actually like our quality IQS. I know we're going to speak about what IQS is in a few minutes, our internal quality score. We are actually still figuring that out. We've had different versions of how we assess and measure quality over the last few years. We had all of our agents reviewing each other at one point, and we're starting to change that now, using a quality tool, having some dedicated people who do the reviews, and then set processes for how we send what we learn to our enablement team to build out training based on what they've learned. And the training can help, plug any gaps that might be there in knowledge, and also help us understand like where are the spaces that we can help, again, like, drive revenue rather than just kind of answer the same question time after time. So it helps us build out our self-serve resources as well, understanding where our reps are answering the same thing over and over, and potentially a help center article could help there. So there's a whole bunch of work going into self-serve resources, because another trend that I didn't mention before is that customers want to be able to help themselves a lot more. I personally love when I can find the answer to something myself and I don't. need to reach out to support teams as much as I love them and it's my bread and butter. But using quality and a quality process, quality assessment process to figure out what it is that your team needs and what it is that your customers need, that's been a huge focus for us this year.
So you've mentioned, support teams taking on a revenue generating aspect. How have you introduced that to the support team?
I think one of the most obvious things is that if you have a really bad support experience, you're more likely to leave a company, leave,
Right.
or cancel your subscription, not buy from them again, whatever it is. And if you have a great experience, you're a lot more likely to stick around and then also tell your friends or tell your colleagues about it. So even just that baseline of providing good support, meaning customers stick around and potentially expand. Don't churn. That's like one of the, I suppose, most basic ways we think about it. But more and more, we're seeing that larger, well, it depends on the business, not necessarily larger customers, but depending on the business, some customers can be willing to pay for different tiers of support based on speed or who they'll be speaking to, like an expert or a customer success manager. So depending on what it is a customer needs, you can actually build in processes around potential paid services that you can use for your customers as well to be a revenue generator as a support team or a success team.
Gotcha. And thank you. And Julia, what are some of the initiatives you've taken this year?
Yeah, at Woodpecker, we believe that the combination of proper tools and for sure a Q&A process is the main idea of how we can create a customer experience. This year, we've decided to change the help desk from another to Intercom, which gives us a lot of opportunities to create the proactive support strategy, not just to resolve the issues, the technical one or the basic questions that can come from our customers. Also, the Q&A process is crucial for me personally during the onboarding process of new support agents, because in such a way we can ensure the same standards for both new support agents and even senior specialists. Because at the very beginning, new people know what exactly they will need to take care of. And we do not speak only about product knowledge, because product knowledge is not enough to be a good support team or support agent. And also, the whole Q&A process helps me a lot with one-on-one meetings and with internal developing of my agents. And not only their hard skills connected with Woodpecker as a tool, but also their soft skills. Because I believe that support work could be difficult, and sometimes customers may say, passive-aggressive messages from our side. So I'm taking care of the both sides of tone, empathy, politeness, proper words that helps to figure out difficult situations connected sometimes with billing, money, refunds, chargebacks, and also to take care about excellent product knowledge, because without product knowledge, people inside support team won't be able to support customers. So definitely a combination of proper tool, which helps to develop inside processes and workflows to customers, connected with proactive support and taking care of quality of our team works for us.
Gotcha. Thank you. And Martin, what are some initiatives that have happened at Klaus this year related to these trends?
Yeah, so obviously we don't have a massive support team of our own, but we have quite a lot of exposure to teams of all shapes and sizes. Well, mostly quite large teams, because the bigger you are, the more you care about this like systematic quality improvement. And one interesting thing that I've noticed is how people talk about why they are doing it in the first place. And that's namely also to create this situational awareness within the company. So it's obviously on the surface you want to do this, run this QA process so that specific agents improve in specific ways, and maybe you also have like this coaching or training that's coming after that, for which Klaus is also about to release some interesting features. But the secondary thing that might be just as valuable is key people within the company becoming aware of what is being talked about. Because if you run this process, you will expose some of the decision makers, some of the leaders, at least within the support organization, to the types of things that get talked about. And through that, like this, the accumulated observation that you get from it can be very valuable. And that's not something that I used to hear. Usually was just about like, okay, let's improve CSAT. And you can, of course, do that. But there are, it's like one of those things where the benefits are spread between lots of different aspects of the team and the company.
Great. And so from our poll, automation and proactive customer support are on people's minds. What are some of your thoughts on in terms of where are the opportunities to do more automation? Where does it make sense? Where does I think we've touched on proactive customer support. So let's chat a bit about the automation aspect. Where do you see opportunities for automation and in your teams? We'll start with Julia.
So for us, automation support definitely helps to create internal processes. As I mentioned before, this year we've changed our help desk for Intercom. And before this, we do not have the specific teams inside the help desk. So all the customers' questions were sending to one inbox, then one person manually should assign proper question to proper team, then to proper person, that to add manually some notes. So we've spent a lot of time on making things that could be automated. Currently, we have specific teams inside the help desk. We have specific rules that assigned proper questions to proper people. So support agent can open the conversation with the customer and from the very beginning start to resolving the issue or answering the question, not with dealing with the technical stuff. So for sure, I would like to develop this internal workflows for my team in the future, because based on this, we can focus more on real human support and real issues where we are not able to automate this workflow, because bots won't be able to resolve complex technical issues. With such issues can deal only real people. So for sure, it's the plan for the future year for our team.
Okay. And Martin, where are you seeing kind of automation show up in customer support teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the rage, right? But the less noticed trend around automation is the human element. So I don't think anybody would actually argue that human support is going away anytime soon. So, like, what I think is really interesting is like how that's going to change. Because okay, like chatbots will take care of a lot of mostly basic stuff, but it's basically what was already mentioned here, that it's gonna move to like a higher value domain. So the human part in customer service, I think, will actually become a lot more of a craft than it maybe is perceived as right now, because the humans will be answering the complex stuff that isn't just like, have you tried turning it off and on again?
Right. And Ruth, kind of where do you see opportunities in kind of related to automation?
Yeah, we've really leaned into automation at Intercom because Intercom, our support team uses our own product to support our customers who are supporting their customers. We call intercomception essentially, but we want to be our own best use case. So we're heavily leaning into our bots and automation features. From the most basic level, automation is routing a ticket to the best team or the best person to handle it. And then as we get more advanced, Resolution Bot, which is one of our products, answers customers' questions instantly. And what's brilliant with that is that customers get this immediate response if it is one of those FAQ type questions. So they actually get their answer faster than if they were waiting in a queue to speak to a support agent. And then, as our other panelists mentioned already, it allows the humans to really focus on complex troubleshooting or emotional conversations, that need a human to be there to actually empathize with somebody. And I just think it's great for support teams longer term because support rep roles are going to become more challenging and more interesting. And I think that's actually fantastic for our industry.
Right, I agree. I think with automation, right, there's so many different things that could be automated, right, that it helps to look at it from all the different levels and where can we continue to have those human interactions where they are going to make the most difference. Right, so
there
moving on
definitely
to,
also certain segments where it's even more valuable. So like looking at the roster of our customers. So quite often when you're selling something that is more of a service or maybe more expensive as well, you don't want to have FAQs or bots. Like you want to provide that high quality human service.
Also, I want to add, because in case of fast or rapidly growing companies, sometimes it's very difficult to predict when will be the moment that we will have a lot of new customers and we will need to find new people that will join our teams. So from this perspective, having an automated support or the part of automated processes definitely helps the manager or the lead to find new people in the proper people that may join the team that will be supporting customers in the future, but not recruiting people because we need to support the customers. We have so many tickets that we are not able to resolve them. So from this perspective, automated support is really nice, and I am happy that nowadays we have so many technical solutions that may help us to automate our work and to focus on more important things than just checking the basic questions which may come from the customers.
Right, and I think an important thing to keep in mind, right, with automation, right, is that it doesn't lead to a drop in quality, right? It doesn't, harm the customer experience. And so, the report, right, states that 53% of support teams conduct a QA review on a weekly basis. So let's talk a little bit more about how QA reviews kind of fit in your teams and how do you use the insights that you gain from it. So let's start with Ruth on this one.
Sure. So I think one of the most basic things is that it ensures a common standard of quality across the board for the support that you're giving to your customers. And I mentioned this before, but it unveils potential training opportunities, not just for the individual, but when you look at the data, for a team, perhaps there's a wider gap in, say, new hire onboarding or something like that. So it's excellent to see sort of wide-reaching potential issues and not only the individual and improving the individual CSAT. It can be about so many more things than that.
Great. And Julia, how does QA fit into how you work?
Yeah, so inside my team, I have top 3 the most important thing that I'm checking. It does not matter during onboarding period or for a senior specialist inside my team. So the first thing is for sure quality. So it's a combination of excellent product knowledge and finding proper solution. Because it's important to remember that sometimes excellent product knowledge does not mean finding proper solution. And I can see inside Intercom a lot of conversation which may be figured out in a faster way, but sending additional materials or just sending the specific knowledge about the part of the app does not resolve the issue in a fast way. The second thing is for sure how fast support agents are able to respond to customers, because time matters. For sure, we have a lot of complex issues which may be resolving for 3 or even 5 days, and then we see that customer is unhappy, that they are mentioned about another companies where they can go, as we are a SaaS company, so the churn is important for us. So time matters. And the third thing is for sure tone and empathy. I can see a lot of conversations between our long-term customers and long-term support agents, where customers may ask us very simple question, but then we are talking about the weather, the gift for Christmas party, and just in general how you are going. I remember that around 1 year ago, we had a new release of the billing system, and there were a lot of questions, and I've also helped my team to answer some tickets. While replying to our long-term customers, I've started conversations with long time no see, and they remember that before I was a customer support agent, and even remember our previous conversations. So this personal part of being human and supporting another human is important. For sure, the list of criteria that we have inside Klaus is much more bigger, but these top 3 are the most important for me as for the team leader, and I'm more focused on them than on other.
Great, thank you. And Martin, where do you see the value of kind of the QA review and the insights that come from it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I could go on about that for days. But well, first of all, I think Woodpecker sounds to be very similar to how we used to run things when I was in customer support myself, because our internal motto at Pipedrive was, I think it maybe still is for the support team, to give fast and useful answers with a human touch. And in that order, it first needs to be answered quickly, because nothing else will matter if it's delivered too late. It has to be useful and with a human touch. So fully agree. But in terms of why you should even do the QA stuff, then I think the simplest way to summarize it is that if you only look at CSAT, then you are not looking at quality from the company's perspective. It's like asking the patient for feedback on the doctor's performance, and you will get certain parts, are they happy with the result, and was the doctor nice, but they wouldn't know what the procedure was supposed to be. So the company knows that. And if you are not doing it, then in our examples, we're software companies. I think all of us SaaS companies as well, which means that there's conversion and churn to be and expansion to be thought of. And customer support is kind of a misleading label because you're not just talking to existing customers, you're also talking to trial customers. Which means that how you talk to them, what kind of an experience they take away from that conversation will directly impact your bottom line. So that is why I think doing these internal reviews is crucial, especially for companies like ours.
Right. And and related to the review process, right? A lot of companies are still relying on CSAT and NPS, to get a sense of how the customer feels about it. And there's some challenges with that, right? Sometimes the score is based less on what is reflective of the product, and not necessarily on what the agent, the agent's role in that interaction. And so we're also seeing a lot of companies use something called IQS to measure how well their team is performing. And Ruth, you mentioned IQS, so if you could kind of expand a little bit on what IQS is and what it means to you, and how do you and how do you define it? And
Sure. So IQS, internal quality score. I'm going back to my QA days in my last company now. I'm thinking about that. But right now at Intercom, I mentioned a bit earlier that we are changing things and we're figuring things out. So essentially, when I think of IQS, I think about a scorecard that you set with a certain percentage that is I suppose, pass-fail mark. And then you set up a scorecard in such a way that you list out the things that are really important in a customer interaction with your team. And then you go and score how the support rep did against that scorecard. So I think that's kind of my one-liner summary of what IQS is. But I might hand over to our other panelists to see what they have to say.
Okay, Julia, how do you determine if your team's kind of, how do you score your team, when it comes to quality?
Yes, as I mentioned previously, there is my top 3 list of things that are crucial for us. Of course, we have another things which we are checking. And mostly we have one-on-one meetings with my support agents or team meetings where we discussing the most complex or difficult topics for us. For example, lately we've mentioned that we have some difficulties with supporting billing issues from our customers. So based on this, we have a meeting. We've decided what is crucial, in which way support agents can figure out such conversations without my involvement, because mostly at the end of the day, the involvement of head of the team or chief officer resolves all the issue, but it's not the best possible option, because we want our support agents to be able to resolve all customers' issues or questions. So it's a combination of some criteria that are added to Klaus by me, some feedback from the team about their feelings, what topics should be covered more, what maybe trainings or some help from me or even experts from another companies are important.
Gotcha. And Martin, what tips do you have for people to look for in terms of determining which things to look at to measure quality?
Yeah, I mean, some of the ones that have been mentioned here would be my top ones as well, like empathy and tone and all that. But it really comes down to what kind of resources you're working with, because if you have a dedicated team or maybe one person doing it, then you can afford to go a lot more in depth, versus if you are kind of crowdsourcing it, you're doing peer reviews, or maybe it's done by a team lead that is doing lots of other things, then I would definitely recommend for a simpler setup where you go through more conversations and you give just more general feedback, maybe, because obviously there's some kind of decision fatigue also involved in that. So if you have a scorecard with 17 different categories and you need to grade each of them, you're not going to be able to go through as many conversations if it's just like thumbs up, thumbs down. So it is in large part, I would say, determined by what your goal is with the process and what kind of resources you're working with. But we've seen like all of the above. We've seen agents doing self-reviews, even where they do they just need to go in and reflect on what they themselves said in a conversation. We've seen peer reviews. We've seen, I would say, like the hybrid is actually the coolest, where you have the traditional reviews by manager or QA specialist, but then on the side you can also create some. Well, in Klaus you have like these workspaces where you can run different types of processes. So some of our customers do that, where there's a different peer review workspace where people are. It's more about saying what I learned from you, for example, and not so much about like delivering hardcore criticism of your peer. So, yeah. Above everything else, though, I would say it's important that you do something, because if you're not, then you're just flying blind.
Right. Right. So let's kind of bring it back to automation, where it's definitely a topic that is on a lot of people's mind, and that people have been applying it. And so let's talk about like how automation has improved the quality of your support. So let's start with Martin this time, in terms of like, where do you see the opportunities to kind of use automation, right, to make your support better?
Well, obviously, I'm talking about it from our perspective, and the story for us around automation has been about releasing functionality that helps you remove blind spots within the volume of conversations. So what we have found to be a big challenge for many of our customers that we are now solving, and we've been kind of talking about it and obsessing about it for a while now, is how do you understand, like, what is the big picture of your customer support volume and where you should be putting your resources in terms of the reviews, and just in general, like, how do you make sense of like what is the big picture, what are you missing? So for that, we released this very cool feature, a quite sophisticated one as well, where like an algorithm analyzes the volume of your support conversations and puts it on a visual graph, so you can see where, okay, like this so we have 1 million conversations, of which 25% are in this language, of which 25% are negative sentiment. So that gives you this sense of relief that, okay, I'm not missing anything, and given that we're not doing reviews for these, I should probably focus on that. So it basically comes down to this anxiety that I used to feel, at least, which was around, what are we missing? Like, this all cannot be perfect.
Gotcha. And so Julia, where has kind of automation impacted the quality of support that's coming from Woodpecker?
Yeah, so in our case, automated support helps us to improve internal processes, which gives us an opportunity to support faster, to focus on human support where it should happen. But also, automated support helps us to develop self-service, because thanks to Intercom, we can put proactive campaigns in specific parts in our app where we know that the basic questions from our customers may happen. And thanks to automated support and proactive campaigns, we can put, for example, specific help article, which will resolve the question, and such customer won't even write to us. So with help of automated support, in my point of view, we can also develop more self-service support and focus on human-to-human support where it should be.
Gotcha. And so Ruth, kind of, which, what are your recommendations in terms of like automations for support teams, and where they could start applying that, right, to improve their quality?
Yeah, on top of everything we've already spoken about around, try and have automation set up to make processes faster, or answer FAQs. I think it's really important to make sure that you allow your customer to get out of a bot loop. So I don't know about any of you, but I have been caught in bot loops with non-Intercom products on other websites where you just get stuck. You're like, this isn't answering my question. I need to speak to somebody.
Yeah.
And there seems to be no way to actually get through to a human. So I would say one of the biggest things to consider is making sure that your customers can get away from the bot if it's not actually helping them. And also don't dress the bot up as a human. It's a bot, not a person. So definitely allow customers to know that they're dealing with a bot in that moment, rather than putting like, stock photo of a fake person or a person, but not actually a human being. It's a face on the bot. That's something I would definitely say to avoid, because that annoys people and it's not particularly personal. So always make sure that if the bot's not actually helping a customer, that they can say that and that they can get through to a human being.
Right. And yeah, and as you're kind of applying automation, how do you, so I think that's a great segue to the, how do you kind of keep in mind, right, the customer's perspective, right? And what are the things that you look for, so that, to kind of keep the quality of your interactions up and to keep the customer experience, great, right? And so Ruth, what are some of the things that, you're looking at, as we kind of get more automation options, right? What are the things that you keep in mind in terms of keeping the valuable human aspect kind of in the picture?
So within Intercom, when you're setting up your bots, you set like a bot kind of path or flow. And I would just advise that like those never become too long, because when they're really long, that's when the customer starts to feel like they can't get out of the loop, right? And it starts getting people annoyed, and straight away the quality of your support, even if it's not a human being interaction, the quality of your support, because this is a support offering, is being damaged in the eyes of your customers. So always making sure that like the bot solves things at the beginning, and if it's not working, customers can get out of it if they need to. I just think it's so important. And another piece is that you need to really invest in setting up a good strategy for your automation. It doesn't just work out of the box. Like, so for the likes of Resolution Bot, you do need to invest some time in training it and feeding it different answers to different questions, and constantly doing a QA process on your automation. So checking out like, which bots are actually answering questions. Are there ones that the customer is always saying, no, this hasn't answered me, do you need to update it? And this is all stuff you can do on the back end within Intercom. But like just always making sure that you're doing constant QA reviews of your automation as well, not just of your human support.
Gotcha. And thank you. And Martin, do you have any tips for as people are applying automation, right? How to keep that personal touch, that personal feeling?
Yeah, I would say that it's a lot about making it seamless, like the transition from like if we're talking about chatbots, for example, then it shouldn't feel like I need to take, it's possible that you can get out of the loop, but it's just a lot of work. So I feel like a lot of companies, they put up barriers because there's this idea that like, maybe if we hide the talk to a human button, then like we'll just have automated support 100% and we'll never have to talk to our customers ever again, which is not necessarily a good plan. I guess it's basically what Ruth said. I would honestly just make it at all times pretty easy to talk to a human as well. because the customer will know, like if it's like going into it already, that like, you know, this is not something that I can solve with self-service or a bot. So and there are some companies that do it really well as well, where it's presented so that this is one more helpful way for you to resolve your issue, but here's also like a few alternatives, like going straight to an agent.
Right. So yeah, so let's talk about what's coming up next year, right? Like, what are your areas of focus for next year, and where will you be making your bets? Let's start with Julia.
Yes, as we're talking a lot about automation, I've just remembered when we start with Intercom as a tool, we've set up a lot of proactive campaigns for trial customers to convert them to premium, to our premium customers, to announce some new releases, some new features. And then when we've started to verify if such campaigns are in real life proactive, or they are just seems to be a lot of spam. So we've recognized that it's just a spam, and we had a lot of feedback from our customers that too much messenger, too much messages, and it's all was because of lack of strategy. Because we've just wanted to test, we just wanted to have fun with a new tool, because proactive support, automated support, it's so nice. All in other companies have this, we also want to do this, but without no strategy, you won't be able to do this. So based on this, we've decided to have a full-time job position for a person inside support team. Currently, it's a support content specialist. So it's a person which do not support our customers, but is responsible for developing help articles. So combination of self-service and automated support. And this person also will be responsible for cooperating with community and for creating proper automated support, not just to spam our customers, but just to resolve the questions or the issues in a really quality way. So in case, if we speak about the next year, I suppose that the decision was the right one, and in such way we will be able to create truly good customer experience for our customers with the help of automated support and all new trends that we have currently on the market.
Very cool. Very cool. And so it sounds like you're really investing in, in the automation, right, and the self-service, and just putting together a strategy to do it well. And Ruth, kind of what's on your mind for next year? Where are you making your bets?
Always striving to be our own best use case, right? So showcasing our support product amazingly with our support team and all of our automation and bots. But something else that's really on my mind for next year is expanding our community. So our community forum is called Interconnected. And I'll use this moment to shout out to any community managers that might be out there. I'm hiring a program manager for community. So if you're interested, please get in touch with me on LinkedIn. But I think there is so much untapped potential in community, and having customers connect with each other to share experiences, share common goals, get talking to each other, and then in turn use the resources from those discussions as self-serve for other customers to use, search for them and get involved in the discussion as well. So I'm really, really keen to really expand on community over the next year, along with all things automation and being a great user of Intercom to show it off to our own customers.
So with the community aspect, how do you see kind of community support fitting into like the support that your team provides? Like, how does that fit into like the strategy of how people are getting their answers?
It's interesting, right? Because I think community and forums, searchable posts and searchable discussions tie in really well with Help Center. But I see Help Center as more of like, setup guides and FAQs, and within Community, I think it's a better place for discussion, right? If you're really using community well, so customers interacting with each other. And an example that I always give in this world is like, imagine a customer that uses Intercom. They're a customer support manager in a fintech company, and they want to speak to another customer support manager in another fintech company and talk about setup and processes. And while we can train our teams in different use cases, ultimately a wonderful person for a customer to speak to is someone else who has those shared experiences in a shared industry. So being able to connect them through community, I think, is fantastic for them to learn from each other. But then also it is, community can be like a deflection then for customer support, because people go and have the chats with their peers in community, and then, like I said, search in there for answers. And I think it's a really great way to work alongside the support team, and again, use the support team to work on deep, complex troubleshooting or emotional conversations, and then use community as a place for customers to connect and a separate self-serve resource.
Right. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think especially with a product as deep as Intercom, right? Like, and all the things that it touches, right? Your team can't be the expert on every business model or industry out there. And often the people who are the best to answer those questions are going to be the people who are solving those problems, right? Like, e-commerce and e-commerce, fintech and fintech. And so Martin, kind of what are the things that you're looking at, with regards to, these, to next year, right? Like, and all the trends that we're seeing, what will Klaus be kind of looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of answering it from our product perspective, because it's a reflection of what we're seeing in the community. And what we will definitely be doing is expanding beyond just we already have in 2021 as well with some of these like advanced analytics and data features, but we will be expanding beyond just QA to adjacent fields as well. Because what we're seeing is that everybody that is engaged in this process, and you're doing these reviews, then you also want to tie it to other adjacent things like coaching, like various types of analysis. You want to have this kind of a brain on top of your regular operations that is the system that you use to improve, and that goes beyond just giving very specific feedback on very specific cases. So we have a lot of interesting stuff cooking there.
Right. Okay, so we have a question from Jerry from the audience. Do you think communities work in all areas of business, or all types of business, right? So B2C, B2B, kind of all the different business models out there. And so Ruth, like, what are your thoughts on kind of, is community something that can work for everyone, or is it, something that works best if you're a certain type of business?
So I think that, getting engagement from community members is, there's probably community managers out there who won't agree with this, but I think for B2C, getting the B2C community members more engaged, because often they're enthusiasts, like customers, like individuals who have bought something that they love or they do in their spare time, and they get really, really stuck into those discussions. For a B2B community, ultimately the community members, whatever they're doing is often tied to their work and tied to how they're representing their business. So it's different, it's different to get the engagement going. It's different in how people show up and represent themselves, and different in how people want to get stuck into different discussions, right? So I would say different. Yes, it can work for B2C, B2B, and then I suppose separately for like enthusiast communities and forums. But it's certainly different in the strategy that you need to set out to manage it and engage people.
Gotcha. And Thank you. And I have a question for Julia, which is, what are some of the key things you'll be looking at, right, as you're investing in self-support, self-service support, and and hiring this new person? Like, what are the things that you're looking at to know if things are getting better?
Yeah, so if we speak about self-service support at Woodpecker, so there are three things that we have. The first place goes to help section, because it was from the very beginning with our app, and for us it's not only FAQ. We are describing in which way some features works. Also, we are adding a lot of video content, which is on the second place, because we are also creating and developing our YouTube channel, which has not only marketing purpose just to sell our product, but also a lot of support content, which helps our customers to understand in which way the market of cold emails works. And the third place is a community, but we are just at the beginning of creating it inside the Facebook. So I do not have a lot of experience. And in case of key metrics, I mean, it's more about feedback, because even inside Intercom, we have a tag which is called help needed, and it means that each support agent can mark a conversation with the customer if he or she feels that we need to create additional content for our customers about this topic. It doesn't matter, it will be help article or video, or maybe question to our community. What do you think about creating this or that? So feedback and communication with customers is crucial here, because thanks to our customers, we are able to develop our product and to create product which our customers want to have. So I suppose this is the answer for your question.
All right, thank you. And so our last question goes to Martin. What are your thoughts on all these automations, these technologies, right, and kind of the idea of people losing their jobs to automation?
I mean, like, first of all, I don't think that it's the case. So if it's about like how do you communicate that to the team, then I would probably put the emphasis on what is left, and what is left for the humans is what we touched on earlier, which is the more complex, arguably more interesting work. So I would probably try and use that to mitigate those fears, because I would think that nobody is saying that all of customer support will be automated. And if anything, I think we touched on that as well. Things are going to get better for the humans of customer support.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Well, our time is we're at time, so I want to thank everyone for being a part of this panel and sharing your time. Where can people find out more about you, or follow kind of like where you're writing, where you're thinking? Julia?
On Facebook or LinkedIn. Also, all attendees can check the website of Woodpecker CEO. There are some interesting information, even like internal facts about our team. In general, we are talking mostly about cold email and follow-ups market. But still on our blog, there are some internal insights where you can even see the faces of the support agents. So welcome.
Great. All right, thank you. And Ruth, where can people find out more about you?
Sorry, my connection went there. Was that me? Apologies. LinkedIn, so absolutely my LinkedIn. And then Inside Intercom is the name of our blog. And we write a lot of stuff about best practices in support, trends in support, very topical stuff related to this webinar. There's a few articles written by me, but what I love about it is that everyone within the company has the opportunity to write articles. So you'll see ones there from our support reps, from our VPs of different departments. So absolutely check it out. It's actually very, very cool.
All right, thank you. And Klaus, and Martin, where can people find out more about you and Klaus?
Yeah, LinkedIn is my main. It gets confusing if you name your company after what is probably the most popular man's name in Germany. But I'm definitely on LinkedIn, quite active there, and klausapp.com with a K is where you can find out about what we do, and we put out a lot of content, some of it including live action video of cats. So definitely recommend checking it out.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing your time, and hopefully we will get together again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.